Once again, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today. As some of you know, my name is Warren. I will be your presenter today. Today's topic is grammar focused. We are going to explore English conditionals. Okay. We are going to take a look at the zero, the first, the second, and the third. Now, this conference is, of course, only 30 minutes long. Usually, when I teach this topic, I would maybe look at one conditional and then another in another lesson. So if you do have questions throughout the lesson, or throughout the conference, I should say, which I imagine you might, please type them in the chat box and I will address them as soon as I can. Okay. This conference is suitable for anyone B1 level and above. If I could get everyone just to confirm their level in the chat box, just in here. If you just type, B1, B2, A2, whatever it is, and I can adapt as we go. The conference will be in English. There will be some French translations here and there, but I will be only speaking in English for this conference. Okay. So, everybody ready? Great. Okay, superb. Let's get to it. Okay. So as I say, today's topic, we are focusing on English conditionals. We will talk about zero and first conditional, the second conditional, and the third conditional. Now, why do we use conditionals? Basically, conditionals show us possibilities in the past, present, and future. They're used to talk about hypothetical situations, okay, whether they are very likely or impossible, just like in French as well. So we're going to explore that a little bit today. Let's take a look at the zero conditional. Now, why do we use this? It's used to basically express general truths, facts, and situations that are always true. In other words, there is no conditional to it. As we can see in the example over here with ice cream, hope everybody loves ice cream. If ice cream gets warm, it melts. Or we can swap the clauses here. One could say ice cream melts if it gets warm. Now, usually speaking, all conditionals usually have if in them, okay? With the zero conditional, it's possible to use if or when. It's also possible to use unless as well. The verb tense in both clauses, as you will see here, is the present simple. If the ice cream gets warm, it melts. So, as the name suggests, zero conditional, meaning there is no condition here. It is a fact. Here is the structure. If or when, plus the present simple, plus present simple. Or we can use unless, as I said before as well. So if you heat ice, it melts. When it rains, the grass gets wet. And unless you water plants, they die. So we can see in these sentences here, we have if, when, and unless. If and when being the most common. Okay. Now, here's what you're going to do, a little activity here for everyone. You're going to connect the sentences to form a zero conditional structure, okay? Basically, you're matching the letters to the numbers. Now, how can you do this? You can basically write your answers in the chat box here. So, for example, one might say A to 2, for example. I will give you a minute to do this. There's only 3 here. I'm sure you can do it. Go. Faustina's right in there. Good. Thank you. Superb. Good. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Virginie. Everybody else? Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the answers then. I think everyone is in perfect unison here. Very well done. So yep, A2, if you eat too much chocolate, you gain weight. B3, when the sun sets, the temperature drops. C1, unless you water the plants, the flowers will die. Bravo, everyone. You're experts at zero conditional. Good. Let's take a look at the first, shall we? Why do we use the first conditional? It's used to talk about real or possible future situations. It can also express cause and effect, where one action leads to another. And in this tense, we typically use if. In the second clause, we might use will or can. As you can see in the image over here, if you don't study, that being the condition, you will fail the test. Or once again, we can swap the clauses here and notice how we don't have a comma in the second example here. You'll fail the test if you don't study. Okay. This is what happens. So if you start with if in the first clause, if you use if, you need to use a comma to separate. If you want to write it the reverse way, you do not need a comma. If you want to start with the result, you do not need a comma. So the structure here, as we can see, if plus the present simple plus will or can, and base form of the verb. If it rains tomorrow, we will stay at home. If you study hard, you will pass the exam. And if she calls, tell her I will call her back. Now notice here, we never use will or can in the if clause. Always separate, okay? If it rains tomorrow, we will stay at home. Will being in the second clause. Okay. So, exercise time. Once again, same idea. Okay, we're going to match the letters to the numbers, just like we did before. I will give you 1 minute. Go. On the left, we can see if it rains tomorrow, if I find the magic lamp, if I don't set an alarm, if my friend invites me to a party. Thank you, Faustine. Everybody else, what do we think? Thank you, Jeremy. Okay. Great. Okay, seeing some answers now. Okay, why don't we double check these together then, shall we? 3, 2, 1. I think everyone once again is in perfect unison. Once again, very well done. So if it rains tomorrow, we won't go to the park. If I find a magic lamp, I will wish for a trip around the world. If I don't set an alarm, I might oversleep and be late for school. And if my friend invites me to a party, I will bring my favorite board game. Good work, everyone. Superb. Flying through these conditionals, this is good. Now we're on the second conditional. So, this here is a little bit different to the first, okay? We typically use this to talk about unreal, unlikely, and even impossible situations, okay? We use them to talk about situations in the present or future. Now, this is where it can get a little bit confusing. Bear with me. You'll see from the structure over here, we use if plus the past simple, the conditional, and the infinitive. Okay? Now, just because we use the past simple verb, as we can see down here, does not mean we're talking about the past. It's a hypothetical situation in either the present or the future. We just use the past simple form or the second form of the verb here. This is quite a good way to remember it, actually. So the fact that we have the second conditional, the past simple being the second form of the verb, it's a good way to remember the grammar we use here. Now, just like the first conditional, it typically uses if. Except with the first conditional, we use the present simple. Second conditional, we use the past simple. And notice here in the second clause, we use would typically. Would plus the base form. For example, if I won the lottery, I would buy a house. If I didn't win the lottery, to use the negative, I wouldn't buy a house. Or in the question form, what would you do if you won the lottery? I would buy a house. Okay, so this is the second conditional. Now, as I say, to remember that grammar there, okay, and remember the differences with the others, the second form of the verb, or the past simple, is used. With the first conditional, we use the base form, or the first form of the verb. We can see other examples here. If I won the lottery, I would travel around the world. Notice how the lottery is popular with this one. And you could also say if it snowed in summer, we could go skiing. If I were you, I would apologize. Now, this here is a really common way to give someone advice in English. In number 3, the situation sounds realistic, but in reality, it's not, because I cannot be you. It's not possible. You see that? So if I were to say, if I were you, second conditional, because I cannot be you. As I say, really good for giving advice. If I were you, I would travel in the summer. If I were you, I would take some time off. That kind of thing. Over to you. Go, go, go. You know what to do. So once again, we are matching. Okay, so we're going to match the letters to the numbers to form a second conditional structure. We can see on the left here, if I won the lottery, if I could travel anywhere in the world, if I had a time machine, if I met my favorite celebrity. On the right, we can see I would ask for their autograph, I would visit Japan, I would buy a house by the beach, and I would go back to witness the first moon landing. I'll give you a moment to answer that. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, Faustine. Sandrine as well. Thank you. Let's double check, shall we? Et voilà. Very well done, everyone. Okay, so yep, as you correctly got, if I won the lottery, I would buy a house by the beach. If I could travel anywhere in the world, I would visit Japan. If I had a time machine, I would go back to witness the first moon landing. And if I met my favorite celebrity, I would ask for their autograph. Bravo. Good work. Okay. Let's take a look at the last one for today. All right, so we are going to take a look at the third conditional. I often get asked about this one from my other students. What's good about the third conditional is you can use it to express regret. That's mainly why we use it in English, to talk about regret over past situations. If we could hypothetically change a past situation. Okay, you can see in the image over here, okay, the use of third conditionals with modals. For example, if he had left earlier, so you could say he would have caught the bus, he might have caught the bus, he could have caught the bus, for example, or he should have caught the bus. As I mentioned before, it expresses a hypothetical past condition and its hypothetical past result. Like all the other conditionals, we use if, and then what we do is we use the past perfect. We can see this in the first clause over here. Had, and then left. Now, once again, a good way to try and remember this grammar here, I mentioned before with the first conditional, we use the first form of the verb, the base form. The second conditional, we use the past simple or second form. And the third conditional, we use a past participle. In other words, the third form. Left. Okay? So leave, left, left. And then we always use past perfect, therefore had. If he had left earlier, he, for example, would have caught the bus. Typically speaking, we use would here. You can use these other modal verbs as well, but typically speaking, we do use would, and then we also use have as well. The structure is here. If plus past perfect plus would, could, might, plus have past participle. For example, if she had studied, she would have passed the exam. If I had known, I wouldn't have said that. If we had left earlier, we might have caught the train. You can see the translations on the side there as well. Now, even though these situations sound somewhat realistic, they're not, because you cannot change the past. So these are impossible situations. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we typically use the third conditional to express regret if things were different. Last exercise. Okay, let's do this. So we are going to, once again, matching activity, matching what's on the left to what's on the right to form a correct third conditional structure. We can see on the left here, if she had studied harder, if we hadn't missed the bus, if I had known about the traffic jam, if they had invited us to the party. And then on the right, we would have brought a homemade cake. I would have taken a different route. We would have arrived on time. She would have aced her exams. It's a good term, aced her exams. See some answers coming in here. Perfect. Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, Sandrine. Look at everyone. We're all experts here. Good. Very good. Superb. Okay, well done. So we'll double check that there. So yes, bravo everyone. So if she had studied harder, she would have aced her exams. Now, if you're not familiar with this term here, to ace an exam, it basically means to succeed or pass an exam, but to pass with a very high grade, maybe like an A or, 85, 90% and above. Aced her exams. The next one here, if we hadn't missed the bus, we would have arrived on time. If I'd known about the traffic jam, I would have taken a different route. If they had invited us to the party, we would have brought a homemade cake. Good work, everyone. Bravo. Okay. So, this is our little snapshot, I guess, of conditionals. Normally, they take a lot more practice than 30 minutes, but I think everybody here did very well with the exercises. But of course, conditionals, to really master them, it does take a little bit of time to learn. You can do many things to practice. So, for example, you could try beginning with writing examples of common phrases of when you would use them. Then try identifying them in subtitles or books and noting down examples that you find. And the last thing before we do the Q&A here, I would also suggest what I mentioned earlier, getting familiar with the grammar. So with the first conditional in particular, first form of the verb, second conditional, second form, the third conditional, the third form. And then zero conditional, as the name suggests, there is no condition. It is simply a fact. I will take any questions that you have just now. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look at the chat box, but I don't remember seeing any come in here. But if you have a question just now, feel free to switch on your microphone. You can ask me, or if you prefer to write it in the chat box, that's also fine. Or if you have no questions, you can give me a thumbs up. Okay. The thumbs up are coming in. We're either experts or we are shy. I believe experts. The experts, am I correct? Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm just going to say thank you so much for coming today. I hope you found this conference to be useful. As I say, that was quite a lot of grammar structures to take in 25 minutes. If you want to continue practicing conditionals and modal verbs, we have some e-learning modules available on our e-learning platform. So you can see things like the zero conditional, the first conditional, the use of will, would, can, and could. We also have exercises on the second conditional and the third. And the other thing you can take a look at is the use of could have, would have, and should have. We have an article available online as well regarding conditionals as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it from me, to be honest. Okay, so Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. As I say, I hope you found this conference to be useful. I will be hosting another conference next week. I believe there are another 2 conferences next week with other presenters. You will find the information on our website. All right, and in the emails as well. Okay, the materials will also be available for you too, and this video will be uploaded to our website probably tomorrow or Monday. So, thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah.
Take care. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, teacher.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Till next time. Okay, thank you so much.
Bye.
You're very welcome. Okay, thank you, Faustine.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.